Hello and welcome to Morning Brew on Labour Social. It might be a bit clunky today. I'm very sorry, but we'll try our best. So if you can hear me and you can see me, we're doing better than yesterday. Sorry about this. Like I say, I've been having real technical problems here. So hello to everyone in the chat. Andrew Ray says, "Wow." I think that's because the intro sequence didn't actually transpire as I had hoped it would. It appears that my computer can't handle animations and things anymore. We're off to a flying start, says Gallifreyan Man. Sound, vision, good. Oh, that's good news from Gary. The morning all, says Cathal. Morning all from Ventura. That's cool. Okay, so, look, if you can hear me and you can see me, that's fantastic. Welcome to Morning Brew. It is it's Friday the 10th of May, 2024. And well done for getting this far through the year. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Keir Starmer and the Labour Party's policy to stop the boats. So, first of all, let's make this very, very clear. Before 2017, there were no boats. In 2017, nobody died in the channel coming across. No children died in boats coming across the channel. In 2016, nobody died. In 2015, nobody died. In 2014, nobody died because we had a deal with France and the EU, actually, called the Dublin Agreement, which meant that if we intercepted a boat coming over from France, we were legally allowed to take the people from that boat and take them back to France and impound the boat. This meant that the model for the people smugglers was smashed. It just didn't really work because there was no point in trying to get into the UK via boat. Now, that's not to say people didn't try other means of getting into the country, like back on the back of a lorry or in a lorry, as there was a horrific case a number of years ago where dozens of refugees died in the back of a lorry after being stuck there for days. It must have been absolutely horrific for them. And the truck driver was quite rightly put in jail for that because they were in there with his knowledge. So you've got a particular situation in which there was no problem, and the Tories, on purpose, to make some mileage with the electorate, they invented a problem that didn't exist until they made it exist. And this is part and parcel of what the Tories are these days. Is they are a problem creation party. They don't know how to create anything except problems. All they know how to do really is to take things that work and destroy them. Take things that could do with improvement and actually make them worse. They've done this with education, the NHS, transport, the trains, the water systems, the internet, the electric system, our British energy, everything you can imagine. They've made it worse. The big ones being what we've done to the environment over the last 14 years of Tory rule, but also the economy. The environment and the economy are the two biggies. They have absolutely trashed them. And saying now, but the economy's grown. The economy's grown. The news this morning, we're out of recession. It's with the fastest growth in 2 years. That's not saying much. That is not saying much at all, because we've been experiencing stagnant growth now for 17 years, even longer than the Tories have been in. But we had the credit crunch in 2007, 2008, and then since then our economy hasn't grown. Anyway, so this wasn't a problem. Small boats, people coming over in small boats, children drowning in the channel wasn't a thing. The Tories made this happen. They have blood on their hands. Let me be very clear about it. And it's really upsetting. It's really cruel. They're murdering children for political gain. That's what they're doing. And when we go to this, they're all the same, Labour and the Tories, they're all the same. You're like, in what world? I think that all the Tories are the same. They're all very similar in their sort of outlook. But when it comes to other parties. I don't think the SNP are like the Tories. I don't think Labour are. I don't think the Lib Dems are. I don't think Black Cumbria are, the Greens. I can't see any of them. I can't see any political party except maybe Reclaim and Refuck actually wanting children to die for their political games. But here's the thing, right? So we've got this Rwanda policy, which is supposed to act as a deterrent. And the last week alone, in the last couple of weeks actually, since the Rwanda policy was enacted, over 1,500 people have come across in small boats. There's been an uptick. Like, it hasn't discouraged anyone at all. In fact, it's encouraged people, because what the government has said is, we're not going to process your claims. The only 200 of you are going to go a year to Rwanda. So it's going to take hundreds of years to process everyone in Rwanda, but we're not going to process you here. So here's the choice. You can either live in a tent in Calais, or you can try a dodgy, boat crossing into the UK and be put up in a hotel indefinitely at the taxpayer's expense. And it's not that, like, if you want to work, what do? I mean, that literally, you're not allowed to work as refugees. America, one of the most anti-refugee countries in the world in recent years, America has said, like, you are allowed to work while your claim is being assessed, because it makes economic sense, not just moral sense, but economic sense as well. But they're not doing that. So Keir Starmer's going to be making a speech today about what they're going to do. And first and foremost, let's make the big headline. They're going to scrap the Rwanda policy because it's bollocks and it doesn't work. It doesn't work on any level. Doesn't work economically. Doesn't work ethically. Doesn't work to smash the gangs. It's not going to do any of that stuff. So the big headline is they're going to stop doing that. But what they're going to do in the place of that is they are going to put the money that was going to be spent in Rwanda into processing refugee asylum claims. They are going to continue they're going to start again with processing the claims in this country, which is something that the Tories have stopped from this from happening. I've just got one eye on the comments here in case my video or audio go off halfway through this. I literally spent yesterday pretty much the whole day fighting my laptop to actually work. It was a lovely day as well. Damn it. So what Starmer's going to do today is he's going to make a speech, and he's going to make it in Dover, where this horrible MP, who I don't like, Natalie Elfico, has come over from the Tories to Labour. And I hate this. And this is one of the reasons why I couldn't be an MP. I hate it, but I can see why they've done it. If anyone's seen the TV show Andor, the Star Wars spin-off TV show, it's really good. There's no space wizards, no magic swords. It's just people fighting against a tyrannical, authoritarian rule. And there's a guy in it, and if you haven't seen it, I don't want to put any spoilers in, but he's essentially asked the question, how can you rebel when you know that your rebellion is going to cause people to suffer and people to die? How can you put yourself in that position? And he's like, yeah, it kills me. It destroys me, because this is the only way we can solve this situation. And I'm having to do this stuff, and I'm happy to take on this horrible, horrible job. Now, the horrible, horrible job that Labour have got to do is to get into power in this country in which our media is completely dominated by Tory old boys, owned by a century-old codger who was born 12,000 miles away, who's never been a British citizen, never paid tax in Britain, never given a crap about this country. Rupert Murdoch, the mind virus that goes through so many people's heads when they think of their opinion about anything. They're so lazy. They can't even be bothered to think, like, what should I think about this particular thing? Children drowning in the channel. What should I think about that? Should I think that's a bad thing, or should I think that's a good thing? Like, what should I think on that? Oh, I'll ask Rupert Murdoch. He'll tell me. And this is the country in which Labour's got to win. And in order to win, they've just been presented with this opportunity. Natalie Elphick, I don't want her in Labour. I don't want to be in the same party as her. I always say, when you're marching for something, have a look around at who's marching with you. So if you're an anti-trans demonstrator, who's marching with you? Well, Viktor Orban and Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump and all the best people. Yeah, all the best people are marching with you. So that's my attitude to it. I'm like, who's on my side? And having Natalie Elphicke in Labour it's an anathema to everything I think Labour should stand for. But going back to the Star Wars reference, I see the logic, and the logic is this. She's decided she's going to leave the Tory party, right? So you've got like a couple of choices here. She can either go to, 3 choices actually. She can be an independent until the election, which doesn't really serve anyone. She could go to Reform, which would be the worst thing, because that would mean that Reform have 2 MPs. And one is one too many with Lee Anderson. We don't want Refuck to be in Parliament. And also, that would supercharge their chances of winning in Dover in the upcoming general election. I know it's unlikely, but the best possible situation for this is for Elphicke to join Labour. And I hate that. I hate that is politically expedient right now, because it means that people who are anti-immigration, little bit racist, little bit bigoted, gobshites, we need them to vote for Labour, or Labour's not getting into power. It's as simple as that. And I hate that we live in this country in which the Murdoch mind virus is so virulent, it's contagious. It pains me at no end. I realise I've missed a super chat, so thank you very much. I hope this little animation doesn't break my system. It probably will do. Ivan, thank you very much, Ivan Ambrose, there for the super chat. The public will not be fooled by the suggestion of the UK being out of recession. People will not be feeling that the recession is over. Yeah, because we've still got inflation. I equate it to like filling up a bath. The bath is still filling with water. It's just not filling as fast. That's inflation. They're going, we've got inflation down. Yeah, but it's not mean that prices are going to go down. Still, the prices are going up. They're just not going up as fast. But yeah, so I can see why you would want to get people who are lifelong Tory voters to look at the Tories and go, they are failing on their flagship policies. Brexit is a disaster. Everyone can see that now. Also, the stop the boats is a disaster. There are more boats now because the Rwanda scheme is a gimmick. Labour are going to do away with it. Now, whisper it quietly, Labour are going to bring in safe routes for refugees, which is something that I've been banging on about for years. I don't understand why, if you're from Ukraine, you can go on a website and you can apply for asylum. If it is granted, you can come here by any means that you find, desirable. So you could fly here from the country that you're in. So, for instance, if you're Ukrainian and you get out of Ukraine because there's a war going on, you go to Poland, and then you can apply for asylum in the UK in Poland. And when that is granted, you can come to the UK. And there's no processing, there's no being stuck in a hotel for months, maybe years on end, none of that. Not being put on a baby Stockholm. You can turn up. Now, I think we should roll out that same system for everyone fleeing war zones and civil unrest and authoritarian regimes. The fact that we don't just goes to show that the real policy here is that we don't want any asylum seekers whatsoever. And you'll hear this from people who go, but they're in a safe country. Why do they have to come to our country? Well, why should the country that is next door to the war zone have to take all the refugees? Like, just think about this for a moment. If you make the country next to a war zone flooded with refugees, taking up resources and annoying people in that country is more likely to go towards an authoritarian ruler in the upcoming elections. And then they can fall into anarchy or authoritarian rule, in which people are now running away from. So you're just making a bad situation worse by saying, no, you've got to stay in the first safe country you get to. It's a nonsense. Everyone from Ukraine would have had to stay in Poland, which is unfair on Poland. Everyone coming over the Mediterranean from Libya would have to stay in Greece or in Italy, which is unfair on Greece and Italy. We should share We should share this duty that we signed up for in the UN Declaration of Human Rights and the Refugee Charter a couple of years later. We signed up to this. We said we would do it. And now we're welching on our deal, our international deals. So yeah, safe routes to the UK have to be opened up. But Labour's kind of playing that down a bit. You've got to read between the lines to see that that's their plan. Yvette Cooper has made some noises about this. But the big headline is going to be today that, in order to stop the boats, we are going to scrap the Rwanda scheme. It's not going to work. We're going to target the gangs. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And then Starmer's going to do this speech in Dover with El Thicko by his side, probably, or in the audience, whatever, standing there, which is a useful tool, a useful idiot to use in this situation for us to get those Gamony voters, those Brexit voters to go, hang on, I'm not necessarily going to vote for Labour, but I'm not going to vote against Labour. And that's what we need in order to crush the Tories, because we are coming up to a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually crush the Tories. This will never happen again in our lifetimes. It will not happen. We came pretty close in 97, but the Tories, let's face it, in 1997, the country wasn't in the same kind of dire straits that it's in now, even after 18 years of Tory misrule. Anyway, right, so I'm going to just jump into the chat because I realise I've missed a couple of super chats. Sorry, things were a bit jerky this morning. I'm obviously using a computer that is not liking having to be used. Stephanie Wallace, Stephen Wallace there. What do you think about her researching on property issues? I don't know too much about this, but she has been outspoken about rent and property issues and things like that. Maybe something good will come of that, but she's only going to be in the party for a few months. That's the ray of sunshine that I see. And she has now apologised for her behaviour when her behaviour in response to her ex-husband's criminality, his sexual assault that he went to jail for. Craig, thank you very much. The goal is to make our enemies into better people. Yeah, Craig, I agree. And the point is, we need these people in order to get the Tories out. And like I say, it's not necessarily that they have to vote for Labour or they have to vote for Lib Dems or Green or whoever else, right? It's that they don't bother voting. And I think that's an option. I'm not one of these people who think that everyone should have to vote. I don't think it should be compulsory. I think not voting is an option. I disagree with Phil on this. Phil says you should turn up and spoil the paper at the very least. But I'm like, no, because so many people will just vote for who's ever on the top of the list because they don't care about politics. Whisper it softly. Some people don't care about politics. Right, I'm going to jump into the chat. My laptop is here, so I'm going to be looking down. So, the polls have Tories on 18, Labour 48. That's what happens next election. If that happens next election, the Tories will have 13 seats. Yeah, this is based on the new UKIP poll, and extrapolating that out to 13 seats is amazing. And I hope that happens. And the Tories should die a death of 1,000 cuts. The cuts that they made to public services, cuts that they made to the lives of you and I. Don't forget as well, I know I do bang on about private schools quite a lot, but don't forget, over 1,000 of them are charities for the children of billionaires, if you can believe that. And we have a thing in this country called gift aid, in which the government gives money, our money, your money, to charities, depending on how much someone else has given. They match fund it or give a percentage of it. Gift aid, right? So you've got a school like Eton, which is a charity. Or you've got the IEA on Tufton Street, which is the charity. And a billionaire gives money to that charity. And we pick them extra money out of our taxes to the richest, most privileged schools in the country. These engines of privilege. We do that. So when someone says to you, "Oh, no, you can't get rid of private schools because the state school system will be flooded with all these private school kids and there won't be enough money for it," bollocks! It'll be cheaper. It will be cheaper. Just like giving homeless people homes is cheaper. Just like giving out UBI instead of having some complex universal credit system is cheaper. It's cheaper to do this than that. It's cheaper to go after tax evaders and tax avoiders than going after people who have no money and aren't going to be able to pay you much because they've taken a little bit too much of benefit. Like, it's ethically wrong and economically wrong, which sums up the Tories to me. Do you know something I don't, Graham? 3 of 3. Sorry, Stephen. No. It's just that my laptop's down here. I'm sorry, I'm blaming my tech. Bad internet host always blames his tools. It's really small. It's really small on the screen to try and fit everything in. So yeah, I'm having to sort of squint a little bit to see what's being said. Do away with private school charity status. Well, that's one of Labour's plans, isn't it? I've just come on. Have I missed anything exciting? Lol. I don't think we've had the same tech problems we had yesterday. That was kind of horrific. Like Phil and I yesterday, we got on at like 9:15 to test all the tech, and it was all working fine until I pressed go live. And as soon as I pressed go live, it went and I'm like, and the thing is, I could Phil's signal to me was coming through fine on Zoom. But going out to YouTube, it was breaking up. It was particularly painful. I might have to delete yesterday's video because I'm a bit embarrassed about it. Phil was great. Phil said, what he needed to say. I might not have agreed with a lot of the stuff that he said, but yeah, it wasn't his fault. But we'll be back today at 1:00 for the agenda. Hopefully with, we'll run it on a very basic service, I think, like very few animations and things like that. And Viv Burgess says Elphick is already having to backtrack on her objectionable views. Abbott isn't changing. When she does, they'll take her back, says Viv. Yeah, that's true. And look, I mean, it is. I feel like more. I don't know. It's up to Diane Abbott, really. Maybe she just doesn't want to get back into Labour. But I feel like it is a little bit disproportionate. I know why they did it. But I think it would have helped if she had, I don't know. I think she's apologised for the article that she wrote. I understand that she didn't mean it the way it came out. She talked about the black experience not being the same as people who are Jewish and other minorities. And I guess she was saying it because she feels like you can see someone's black, but you look at someone, you might not know they're Jewish unless they're wearing a kippah and they've got curly sideburns or whatever. But yeah, it was so clunky how it came across, and you can see how Labour are very, very much having to run a tight ship in order to get into power. Infighting is just not tolerated, and it was a bit remarkable about how nobody, not Andy Burnham or anyone, came out to criticise the defection of Natalie Elphick over to Labour. You would expect someone to have said, "Hey, well, I suppose Andy Burnham said this is politics. I don't like it, but it's politics," and I can see why. Tory MP says, "I want to leave. They are the Dover MP. You want to stick one to the Tories and say that their boat policy isn't working, that their Rwanda policy is a con. It's flim flam. It's never going to work. It's just posturing. It's performative cruelty." And you're right. And you want to get that point across to the people who voted for Brexit, for the people who voted for the Tories, for reform, for the people in Dover who voted for Natalie Elphick are now seeing that their MP saying that the Tory policy on this particular issue isn't working. The thing that wasn't an issue 6 years ago, but it is an issue now, thanks to the Tories. Yeah, well done, Tories. I mean, creating a problem to then solve the problem and be the hero is psychotic. Like, burning someone's house, setting someone's house on fire so you can be the hero who puts the fire out is psychotic. It's psychotic behavior. You wouldn't accept it from anyone that you knew in real life. Why do we accept it from the Tories? And the mad thing is, they're not even putting the fire out. They've turned up with a fire truck, and it's, instead of being full of water, it's full of petrol. And they're like, I'm helping. And you're like, what are you doing? You're making it worse. Stop. But yeah, that's them for you. Anyway, so 31 Blaze says, responding to Justin, it won't, but it'll make those who don't follow politics, who might have voted Tory, consider voting Labour instead. I don't know if it'll work, mind. Yeah, I don't think it'll necessarily make people vote for Labour, but Labour's big thing at the moment, and you can tell this in everything that they do, is getting out the message that they aren't going to. They're trying not to scare the generally elderly voters who vote for the Tories and voted for Brexit and read the Mail and the Sun and other right-wing rags, opinion rags. They call themselves newspapers. That's rich. I mean, they are on paper, I guess. I mean, it's very poor quality paper, but it's paper nonetheless. But apart from that, news? No. News is news. News is like new things. The clue is in the word news. Here's something new that you didn't know about. How often do you actually read a headline that you didn't know about the day before? Because obviously they've got to typeset, write, print these things and send them out around the country. So the news is already out of date because we have the internet now. Newspapers should be done away with. We shouldn't have them. They're a relic of a bygone age, a bizarre relic of a bygone age. They're not telling you anything new. They're telling you what to think about the new things that are happening. So there's a war on. We're going to tell you what you should think about that war. There's a protest. We're going to tell you what you should think about those protesters. What are they protesting for? They're protesting for a greener planet and a future for our children. Oh, well, they're bad people. They're bad people because they're all hypocrites, because they all got coats on. Yeah, they should be naked, covered in rags. They shouldn't have bathed for a year because otherwise they're hypocrites. Who's these protesting? Oh, they're protesting against asylum seekers. Oh, they're all right then. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Well, they're protesting because they want fox hunting brought back. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, they're lovely people. They're good. Yeah. What should I think about this thing that's happened in the world? Oh, I'll look for Rupert Murdoch or Lord Rothermere or the Barclay brother to tell me what to think. It's the ultimate form of laziness. And if anyone dares say to you who reads these rags and says, well, you know, I worked hard. I worked like they worked harder than someone else. And you're like, you don't work hard, mate. You never did work hard. And let's face it, you're literally sitting there so lazy that you can't even be bothered to think. I mean, God, get yourself a PlayStation or something. Can't even be bothered to think. It's too much energy. It really is. I want Rupert Murdoch to do all my thinking for me. Jesus. Imagine having that little self-respect. Yes, he's not been a vocal supporter of trans rights. We're talking about Starmer here, I guess, Gallifreyan man. But again, I'll take someone who can be swayed over people currently trying to erase us. Yeah. I completely get that. And obviously, Rachel and I have had long conversations about Labour's relationship with trans people and trans rights. It is such... Again, this was something like... people coming over in boats wasn't a problem 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I didn't hear anything about, oh my God, did you hear the trans person use the toilet that I didn't want them to use? No, nobody even said that. It wasn't even a thing. And then suddenly the Murdochs and the Putins and the J.K. Rowlings of the world all got together and said, hey, do you know who we should demonize? Yeah, do you know who we should go after? Let's go after trans people. Yeah. Yeah, let's go after them because we've lost the war against gay people. They're allowed to marry now and everything. Let's go after the trans because they're a minority. You're a minority. And they need our support, arguably more than nearly any other minority you can mention. Trigger warning here, but like studies have shown that trans people are more likely to think about ending it than any other minority group. And I feel like trans people deserve our love and respect and support. They don't deserve the richest author in the world going after them and saying, "Oh, you can't assume innocence of any given minority." If you change everything that J.K. Rowling said in the last 6 years about trans people and just take out the word trans and replace it with black, and you just see how grotesque the bigotry is. I don't want black people using the same toilet as me. They might attack me. Well, that's a really prejudiced and bigoted thing to say. Why would they attack you any more than any other group? Because they might, that's the kind of thing they do. You can't assume innocence, innocence until proven guilty. I know they say that, but that should be everyone except for the people who are born of a different skin colour to me. How far would you get with that? How would your book deals get on? Whisper it quietly. I think you'll be dumped. I think you'll be dumped by your book publisher and your agent and everyone overnight. People will be like, "I'm burning your books, love. I'm not having this. This is ridiculous. How dare you say that?" And yet, with the trans community, that's fine. No, it's all right. You can say those horrible things about trans people that people used to say in the 1950s in America during their apartheid era. And they didn't call it that, do they? But it was. Separate but equal. Yeah, that's what apartheid means. Wasn't though, was it? Well, it was separate. Wasn't equal. I don't want them using the same toilets as me. Why? They might attack me. Get it down to brass tacks. That's what it is. Absolute bigotry of the worst possible form. Anyway, but yeah, I can see why Labour aren't talking about the EU. I went to a Europe Day event last night with Cozy Durfell Hill here in Liverpool, and we were talking about the Brexit and the fact that none of the main parties, I mean, not even the Lib Dems, are talking about it at the moment. And I can see why not, because it's toxic and we don't want to have that debate again. We don't want to be going into this election making it another Brexit referendum. The stakes are too high. We need these demonic Tories out of power sooner rather than later. So that's my take on it, But like I say, think for yourselves. That's just what I think. Anyway, so Starmer's doing his speech. I don't know what time it is. Sometime today. Hopefully it'll be this morning, and then we can talk about it at 1 o'clock with the agenda with me and Phil Morehouse, and hopefully a halfway functioning laptop. Sounds like people are complaining about the Palestinian marches in London of recent. Again, it's like, what marches are we allowed? No, you're allowed that march, but not that march. Oh, you're allowed to protest against that, but not about this. And it's always to do with whatever the Tories want to, isn't it? What's the point of spoiling my ballot? That's Luna X. Well, exactly. It doesn't really achieve much. The only person who sees that is the person who's counting the ballots, the electoral worker who just puts it on a stack of spoiled ballots. And Christopher Bowles says, Starmer conflates issues on trans rights again, LBC. He made comments that made me question him. Yeah, Christopher, honestly, mate, I get it. I get that. And it's what you do. He's in a position where, and I feel like I'm making excuses for him. I don't really want to. He's in a position where every time he goes on LBC or one of these bloody talk show things with Madeley or that, God, Nick Ferrari creep or whatever, they're always going to go, trans people, that's the most pressing thing that, people are thinking about, 24 hours a day. Well, maybe J.K. Rowling and Graham Linehan are, but nobody else is thinking about it 24 hours a day, except maybe trans people who might like, I'm trans, that's just who I am, that's my identity. But people who aren't trans, who think about it all the time and obsess over it, I mean, even J.K. Rowling herself was admonished last week by Elon Musk for going on about trans people all the time. He said, do you want to tweet something positive instead? That's Elon Musk. But yeah, and I guess that the line that the Labour are taking are just like, we've got to shut down this line of conversation. Just shut it down. Let's talk about other things. And in a way, I wish he would shut it down in a way that gave trans people a bit more hope than sort of going along with the lies of the Tories and the right-wing press and that horrific Cass report. Culture wars and the trans debate, says Cathal. Yeah. Absolutely right. Look, I've got to get going. It's 7 minutes past 10. Thank you very much for joining me this morning on Morning Brew. Thanks for the super chats. Really appreciated. I'm putting them towards my new laptop fund. And I'll be back at 1 o'clock for the agenda with Phil Morehouse, where we'll be dissecting what's been happening this week. Obviously, there'll be a bit of debate on old El Thicko joining the Labour Party. And then tonight we'll be back for 9 o'clock, at 9 o'clock for the Labour Social roundup of the week with friends and colleagues and usually a pint of beer or two. So please join us for that. You're very welcome to. And until next time, I'll try and do the outro animation. This probably won't work, but let's give it a go. I'll say hello. Give us a like on the way out and hello, good evening, welcome and goodbye.